Imagine this. You're one student in a classroom of 30. The bell rings, everyone's rushing in, scrambling to get to their seats. One teacher stands at the front, already exhausted, trying to make sure 30 different students pass the same exam. Some kids zone out, others stare at the clock, counting down the minutes. Then lunch hits. The pungent smell of the cafeteria food fills the air. You eat food that doesn't even taste like it's real, but you're hungry, so you talk about the latest TikTok trends with your friends and try your best to survive to the next period. Then you go straight back into the classroom. That's right, you don't get to go outside unless it's PE. And by middle school, recess is gone. Even after all of those hours, you still go home with a backpack full of papers and assignments, hours of it, redoing what you already did in school. Sometimes you stay up late, memorizing facts like a chatbot, trying your best not to fall behind. That is the average day in a school building. And it's honestly not the teacher's fault. This is just the way the system was set up, for test scores, not curiosity. Now picture this instead. No blaring bell, no room of 30. You stop when the clock says you do, but only when you fully understood the assignment. You eat food that smells good, whether that be your mom's cooking or something you picked up fresh from the supermarket or the store. You don't have homework because all your work is done at home anyways. There is still structure, but it's human. You finish the day with energy left, not completely burnt out. That's homeschooling. And that's the difference most people don't see. So let's break it down. Here's why homeschoolers are more likely to be successful and what public school still hasn't figured out. Hello there, my name is Chidama, and I have been a homeschooler for almost 6 years now. Right now, I am in my 12th grade year. This is my last year of homeschooling, and today's topic is about homeschool versus public school. Who is more successful? I'd like to give a preface to this. This is not attacking the public school kids or the public school teachers. I'm talking about the public school system. Public school measures pace, while homeschool measures progress. In public school, you move forward even when you don't truly understand the content. You get a check mark, an A+, a good job for memorizing. In homeschool, you move forward when you've actually understood the content. That's why homeschoolers tend to do better academically than public school students. There are numerous studies done that homeschoolers score higher on their test scores than public school students. And it's not because they're smarter. It's because they're learning in an environment that is built for comprehension, not just competition or memorization. For me, this is how I ended up co-authoring a novel with my brother as a part of our English curriculum. Because it wasn't just about cramming a bunch of knowledge into our brain that we weren't going to use. It was about learning and applying the tools we actually learned. It was about mastering a skill, not just memorizing facts. Reading. The secret advantage. And here's something no one online really talks about. Homeschoolers are readers. Like, most of them are avid readers. The average homeschooler reads 1 to 4 grades above their grade level. Meanwhile, only about 1/3 of 4th graders read at grade level. Every homeschooler I know has a bookshelf, whether that be a physical one or a Kindle bookshelf. We've got one too, filled with tons and tons of books that we can choose from. Because readers are leaders isn't actually just a funny saying. Deep reading builds deep thinking, and with deep thinking builds creators. And the people who think deeply are the ones who create the most. And when you're taught to think deeper, you think about how you can be the solution to people's problems, as opposed to just memorizing whatever people tell you. Many people think homeschoolers have way too much freedom. But freedom doesn't automatically mean laziness. It depends on how it's being used. When you're homeschooled, no one is chasing you to get things done. Yes, your parents might come by and check in on what you're already doing, but chances are you're not being monitored the majority of the time, especially when you're in that late middle school to high school homeschool years. Elementary kids get a bit of a pass for that. So you learn to wake up, to work, to plan, to finish, and repeat. And that's self-management. Now, if you waste the freedom and if you waste the flexibility, then you start to fall behind. But if you use it well, it builds discipline faster than any public school curriculum could ever teach you. Freedom doesn't remove structure. It teaches you how to build it for yourself. Real-world socialization builds intelligence. Socialization. That's the word people love to throw around and talk about when it comes to homeschoolers. Can homeschoolers even socialize? Will they lose all of their social skills? That is a parent's biggest nightmare when it comes to homeschool. But think about it for a second. Public school has you socializing with the same people your age for 12 years straight. That's not socialization. That's another form of repetition. In the real world, you'll meet 20-year-olds, you'll meet 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 70-year-olds. Different ages, different ideas from different walks of life. Homeschoolers get more of an opportunity to socialize with different types of people. Volunteer programs, where you get to talk to everyone, from younger kids to even older adults. You learn how to connect, not just how to fit in with the peers of your age. But socialization doesn't just come from thin air. Of course, as a homeschooler, you have to be disciplined to go out and get that socialization. Family bonds create stability. Here's something both the data and the experience both agree on. Homeschoolers are happier. Studies show that homeschool teens report higher life satisfaction and lower anxiety than public school students. And it makes sense. When you spend the day with people who actually care about you, it feels safer to learn. I've seen it personally. When I was in public school, I barely knew my siblings. Different schedules, different lives. I remember my brother and we went to the same middle school, but I only got to see him on the way home from the bus. Same for my younger sister. And honestly, we're closer than ever. That kind of bond, especially with your family, makes your quality of life so much better, because you know that these are the people that will always have your back no matter what. That's the thing that public school misses. It's not just about grades. It's about growing up secure, confident, and connected. And there is no stronger bond than the bond with family. And let's also talk about peer pressure. Studies have shown that homeschoolers are much less likely to give into peer pressure than public school students. Independence builds the future leaders and entrepreneurs. Homeschooling doesn't just prepare you for college. It prepares you for real life. When you're used to managing your own schedule, you start thinking like a creator. That's how me and my sibling were able to write our first fantasy novel together. If we were still in public school, that never would have happened. And now we're building this YouTube channel around helping other homeschoolers. And we're not alone. Around 51% of Gen Z says they don't want a job. They want to start their own businesses instead of taking on a traditional job. And with the rise of AI, they're thinking the right way. Homeschool fits that perfectly because it trains you to lead, not just to follow. Because if the point of school is to prepare you for the real world, shouldn't it teach you how to build in one? Let's take you back to that example I gave earlier, that average day in a public school building. Do we really believe that this is a conducive environment for children to learn, to grow, to develop, to change, to be creative, to be free thinkers? Personally, I don't think it is. And depending on how you do it, homeschool can be your child's best shot at getting the right education. I know homeschool has definitely freed me, and I hope, whether you're deciding to do it or not, that it can free you as well. But what do you think? Do homeschoolers really have the advantage, or does it just depend on how it's done? Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below, and I'd love to hear your own experience. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.